Everybody, so I want to show you how I'm making the masks. I'm sure there's a lot of other videos out there, but this is how I'm doing it. I found this online. What I'm doing is I'm taking 2 pieces of cotton fabric. It needs to be cotton. I'm told that if it's not cotton, it doesn't filter very well. 2 pieces filter really well, and you want to have them the pretty side in. So you want to sew them together, but wrong side in, because we're going to eventually invert this and make the mask turn out. So the first thing you want to do is stitch across the whole top. Then you want to stitch the earpiece in at the top, come down the side, stitch the earpiece in again. You want to go about halfway across, maybe a third of the way across the bottom, and then skip a third so that we have room to invert this later. Skip a third, do the rest, grab the earpiece on this side and the earpiece on this side, and we end up back at the top. So I'm going to do that real quick. Hopefully the machine will like me and do all this right. It's a brand new machine, so she doesn't know me well yet. You always want to, back stitch over the top here so that it's locked in. Back stitch again. I am using, these are Goody brand. These are what girls use to hold their ponytails. Okay, I like the thicker ones because the machine can actually bite into it and stitch it. I'm using the thinner ones as a connector. Some people are able to cut these and make one side of it. I have not been skilled enough to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one of these and looping it together like you would rubber bands. And I take 3 of them to get them together. I get 2 of the large ones that the machine can bite into and 1 of the small ones to just make the connection, and that's 1 earpiece. Okay, so I'm going to put my needle down, I'm going to pivot the fabric. I'm sure there's technical terms for this. I'm not a sewer, but I'm just doing what I can do. I'm sticking it under the fabric, right in front of the needle path. Can you see that? Sticking it under the fabric, right in front of the needle path. I'm also being careful that the rest of it trails to the side, because I don't want the needle to grab it and pin it all down this way. So I'm going to lay that down, put my presser foot down, and I'm going to go over it a couple times like a speed bump, and then come down the side, and I'm going to reach under, and I'm going to grab the tail end of that earpiece, and I'm going to put it in the path of the needle again, and I try to squinch it together. I could take time to pin all this. There's the speed bump and back over it again. And I could take time to pin all that, but I've gotten so fast at it. So now I'm going to go about a third. I'm going to skip a third and then do a third again. I'm going to do a third, back stitch it. I'm going to lift up. I'm going to come a third out. I don't even cut my thread. Back stitch. Do the last third. And I make my second earpiece. Now I don't try to color coordinate. Here's why. Let's say I'm making about 15 of the same fabric. Let's say because I'm using my dress shirts, I can get about 8 masks out of one dress shirt. And if they all look the same, people can't remember which mask was theirs. So these colors on the earpieces, I'm just doing randomly so that people, if they're all working in the same shop or whatever, can tell them apart. So I'm going to lift this up, I'm going to split the fabric, I'm going to stick this earpiece in. I'm going to stick it in the path of the needle. I'm going to clamp down the presser foot, and I'm going to grab that in there. And just like a good speed bump, I'm going to go over it twice. I'm going to honk my horn when I go over the speed bump. I'm laying this one down here at the bottom and pinching it so that I can have it in the path of the needle, but I'm also feeling to be sure that it's not, the rest of the earpiece is free of the needle, so it's not going to get trapped on the side here. And back over that. So you can see we pinched out a little bit more than we might have, but that's fine. I'm going to trim that. And now we're going to invert it. We're going to go to that 1/3 that we left on the bottom here that we didn't sew up. And all this stitching will be inside now. So we're just going to invert this like a pillowcase. And sometimes if you don't leave enough, this can be a little bit problematic. Just work it, it'll get through. You can leave a little more than 1/3. It just depends on how you're doing. Now pull all the 4 corners out to get get it as far as it can go. This is when you'll notice if you missed a little bit of a seam, and that's okay, because we're about to hit this again and go around what I call going around the racetrack. So I put the one that's open at the bottom here. And if you have a machine that can move the needle, watch the needle's going to move a little bit to the right there. I want to do that so the edge is right on the end. If you don't have a needle that'll do that, if you don't have a machine that'll do that, that's fine. Just go dead center. Got to hold my tail here so it doesn't suck it back in. And this one I just do really fast. I call it going around the racetrack. And here I went a little too fast. You'll notice that I went outside I went on the gray fabric only, not on the orange, so I'm going to backtrack that a little bit and not be so fast. Because I want to be sure I trap both fabrics in here. This is so that when they wash them, these things don't fall apart. I have no idea how, who's going to wear them and how many times they're going to wash them, and I hope that they hold up. Okay, so there we go. Now you'll notice that I am not changing threads by the color of the fabrics. I'm not being that precise about it. Now, so we have a mask, basic mask right here. You want to pleat it. The reason we pleat it is you want the sides of the mask to be tight to the face so the air doesn't come around the side of the mask. But you also want the mask to be able to expand around the nose and mouth. So I just do a basic pleat this way. I've seen people do pleats where they're both in the same direction, like that. So these are two pleats heading up. I like to pleat it, I don't know why I like to pleat it. I like one pleat up, one pleat down, and that way it provides a little different expansion. And it's just, that's what I came up with, but you can do whatever you want. I do pin these just to keep them right, because if you don't, then they can look a little awkward. So it takes me just a second to pin this. Always put the head of the pin away from where the needle and the presser foot are going to be. Otherwise, you end up with the head of the pin under the presser foot, which never is happy. So I don't even think I caught what I needed there. There we go. So this is going to pin down that way. Well, you know what? There we go. Okay, and this one's going to pin down this way. Try to just get it a little bit symmetrical. You want whoever's going to wear it to not feel awkward with it. And then I'm just going to stitch that pleat into the fabric here. So I've left the needle to the side. I can move it back to center. It really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to do that. Pull this off. Put my threads there. Do this pleat, and we're almost done. And there you go. So now we just trim off all the extra threads. Before I deliver these to people, I iron the pleat in place so that, at least for now, this is set. Grab all my pins out of there. Grab any big loose threads that I can see. And there is a basic mask that somebody can wear and hopefully stay well. You'll notice I have a lot of extra threads. I don't charge by the thread. I don't charge at all. So there it is, basic mask. When somebody puts it on, this expands, and when they put it on their face, these stay solid on the side. And that's it. Thank you.